DOJ, the Department of Justice, and the FBI review finds no Jeffrey Epstein client list and confirms suicide. No further changes are expected with the investigation into Epstein. Now that alone is disturbing. That alone is disturbing that they're just putting the lid on this. After 6 years. After 6 years of questions, evidence, things that are like, oh, hey, you know, this person who had all these connections, knew all these people, had all these like all this money that didn't really have like a legitimate trail. Like, just, I mean, it takes less than a Google search to find out like, oh, there's something kind of fishy about this whole Epstein thing. But we're just going to close it. Shut it. Nope. No more. Okay. A review ordered by President Trump appointed leadership of the Justice Department and the FBI found no evidence that notorious deceased financier Jeffrey Epstein kept a client list of associates whom he blackmailed or conspired with to victimize dozens of women, according to a new memo reviewed by ABC News. What? I saw a meme today where it's like Ghislaine Maxwell is like, if there's no list, why the fuck am I in jail? Like that was the whole thing. She was like keeping these lists and like, you know, escorting these soliciting or making happen these sexual meetups with underage women. Like, what? We're just gonna throw this all out the door, all out the window. Let's actually just watch this clip really quick. I don't think I've actually. Is there any? Yeah, it's gonna spark outrage. Duh. And this, actually, let's just read this from the article. Attorney General Pam Bondi had previously promised the public release of scores of records associated with federal probes into Epstein, though in recent interviews she has claimed the delay was attributed to tens of thousands of videos within the FBI's possession showing potential pornography of minors. And that's right. In late February, Bondi handed out binders with Epstein case files to pro-Trump social media influencers at the White House. Files that ultimately contained little new information. Yeah, so that was something that I remember happening. And, you know, I'm going to say, like, I remember when that dropped, I immediately kind of had the thought that, like, I don't really think they're going to give us anything. Like, look, if they were actually going to give us information on this Epstein stuff, that would have been the moment. That would have been the moment right there. You know, I read this, and I guess whatever, we're kind of skipping around today. I read this book recently called A Not Sick of Winning by McAllister. And one of the things that he viewed as a win, which he's not wrong on, but one of the things he viewed as a win was the fact that this did happen, that there was information released on this. And it seems like now, like with a lot of the things that Trump has been doing over the last last month or so, month plus, you know, when it comes to, you know, the Iran stuff or, you know, the like raising the debt ceiling with the big beautiful bill, like whatever, all these things, like he seems to have really backpedaled. You know, he's not draining the swamp. I honestly, it's kind of surprising me that people in this day and age still think that he's going to do, like, that he was going to do that, or that he still is going to do that. Like, I remember like 2020. Sorry, I'm getting my years mixed up. Like 2017, 2018. Like, I thought, to me anyways, I thought that was pretty obvious. Like, yeah, this guy is not going to drain the swamp. He had time. He had time to drain the swamp. And look, you could make the argument in his first term, like, yeah, they impeached him. You know, he didn't have the House and the Senate. There was like a huge push. There was way more of a push in the political guys to not let him do what he wanted. Fine. This second term, there's no excuse. No excuse. If he was actually going to drain the swamp, if he was actually going to do things like reveal the Epstein files or, you know, whatever, he has had ample time to do it. He has had all the power on his side to do it. Okay, let's watch this clip of Pam Bondi. I actually haven't seen this whole thing, so it's only a 30-second clip. We'll just play through it. But, this is her, or maybe I watched a little bit of it. This is her claiming, or her discussing the Epstein list. So let's just play this.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, we'll check back with you. The DOJ may be...
I think that in itself is revealing. Just like that. Have you seen anything? Not yet. Not yet. Like, one name on that list wouldn't have been... Like, you're telling me that they're, like... the first page... Like, if you're gonna take it just as, like, as a direct list... If like what it's sold to us as is like a list of the flight logs or the people who were clients who like, excuse me, the people who, had these, prostitution or sexual dealings with minors, even the names of the minors themselves. Like, you're telling me there's no interesting information? Like, not yet. Like that honestly should have been a fucking red flag in the beginning, right? But I don't remember when this is actually from. I don't think it said when. I don't think it said when this video was from, at least not on the post here. But, there was a point in time where she was actually saying that there was a list. And now she is saying that there's no list. You could maybe get away with this 10, 15, 20 years ago. In the day and age of the internet. Like, when people can do what I did and pull this clip up and be like, but bitch, you said that you had the list on your desk and now there's no list like that. That doesn't make any sense. As what they say, doesn't pass the basic smell test, right? So look, I called this. I'm not happy to say this, but I called this shit. There's no way that the administration under Donald Trump, really to state it all, but especially under Donald Trump, who was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. Literally, Jeffrey Epstein himself said that Trump was his best friend. His best friend. And Jeff Epstein had a lot of friends. You see all those pictures of him. You're like, God damn, this was a fucking popular motherfucker. Like, he was like throwing these parties. He had a lot of friends. A lot of lady friends too that were not of age. And come on. Let's even just say that Trump is on the list, but he didn't necessarily have any sexual dealings. Let's say that by some miracle, Trump flew with him to the island and then never actually participated sexually. You're telling me that, with all this interaction, with all this information, with all these tie-ins to Epstein, that Trump didn't at least know that some of this shit was happening? Look, if you go back to that Quentin Tarantino and Joe Rogan interview where they were talking about Harvey Weinstein, Tarantino, I don't think Tarantino really knew the extent to what Harvey Weinstein was doing, but he definitely knew that he was doing some what he described as kind of chasing the secretary around the desk type of thing, right? And he said that he wishes he would have said something. And look, I don't think that makes Tarantino culpable. Maybe he did really know more. I don't know. What I saw, he seemed sincere. he himself has not had there. I mean, at this point with Weinstein, I mean, you would think that there would be some kind of allegations leveled against him at this point if he had participated in any of that. But I mean, it seems to be pretty solid. Like, you know, he hasn't engaged with any of that stuff as far as we know. But like, look, I think if Tarantino had known that stuff, at least to some extent, like that when it comes to like the pedophilia stuff, I think that would have really tainted that really tainted his image, rightfully so. And I don't even know what the relationship was between Tarantino and Harvey. I mean, I think there was more of a employee dynamic there, whereas, you know, with Epstein and Trump, there was like an actual fucking friendship, an actual relationship. I guess, you know, I guess in my mind, there's just no way that Trump, at the very least, did not know that he was engaged in these things. And more than likely, probably himself engaged in them. I mean, we won't play it, but like what I used for the thumbnail, for the temporary thumbnail, there's this video of Trump and Epstein at a party looking at all these young girls and like, ooh, she's hot and stuff. Like, what? You're telling me that to like the 18, 19, 20-year-olds, they're doing that too, and then like it's not very possible that like drop it down to 17, 16, 15. You're telling me that Trump is this moral guy who like oh no, I cut the line there. Jeffrey, I'm not doing that. No, man. Like if you're at these parties, at the very least, you're telling me that like Trump wouldn't be like accidentally culpable, like with a lot of these, maybe not even accidentally, but like, you know, you're almost kind of like the whole blackmailing scam that he had, where like he would catch people, like he would have these parties and like he would videotape people having sex with minors, and then he would use that as blackmail. Information that we still don't know, by the way. Information that we will not know. We know that the information that we've known is there because that was the whole fucking story. But now the DOJ is claiming, oh, that doesn't exist. Even though they said it exists. The corruption is just wild. And I think at this point, if you're still MAGA, you're just an idiot. If you're like if you're full on board with MAGA, if you're full on board with Trump still, you're a fucking idiot. You're the same goddamn idiots who are now still saying that Kamala Harris would have been a better president. Like, you're dealing with like apples and oranges when it comes to that comparison, I guess. But like, I think it's, despite all this shit, like Kamala would have been a terrible president. Or the people who said that Biden was sharp as attack, right? You're literally in that same class of person if you're still saying this shit. Okay? If you're still on board with Trump, after something like this, you are a fucking idiot. I will say that. If you want to come at me, go for it. But you're a fucking idiot if you look at the events just with Epstein over the last month or so. Everything from the Kash Patel interview to the Don or Dan Bongino and Kash Patel interview that they do at Fox, where they're like, he killed himself. Where it's like, it's literally like a hostage video. If you have watched all that and you're still on Team Trump, you are just as much of an idiot as the Democrats, the far left, the brainless Democrats that you have probably been calling out this entire time. You are on that level.